welcome to another episode of Mindful Matters. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the power of cleaning, whether it be in your home, in your emotions, in your habits, in your ideas, etc. And also what to do when you find yourself disagreeing with others. Mm-hmm. The idea here is when things don't serve you anymore, get rid of it. This is important both mentally and physically. And if you see me looking down, I got notes because, we always have a lot to say. Clutter is not just physical stuff. It's old ideas, toxic relationships, bad habits. Clutter is anything that doesn't support your better self.
That's a quote by Eleanor Brown.
Right. So today, what we are going to do is we're going to get rid of our own clutter. So I'm going to go and grab my trash can. And we're going to put this into practice. 1 sec.
For sure. Yeah, so that's our self-care exercise of the day. Feel free on your end to go find something that doesn't serve you anymore.
Okay, so here we have our trusty trash can.
This is a little Pachaco coin bank that I got because it looks really cute, right? You agree? But every time I saw it in my room, I just noticed it didn't fit. So even though it's really cute and I like it, because it doesn't vibe with my space, I'm getting rid of it. Bye.
So long, Mr. Pachaco.
We're probably going to take that out and donate it later.
Yeah. Because it's still really good.
This is for the demonstration. So I'm getting rid of it.
Okay. And then for me, what I'm going to do, so this belt, I've had this belt since I was 15. I actually bought it in a thrift store, and it's leather. I'm going to be 29 soon. It's almost been 15 years. I see it, and I've held on to it because, I just remember all the, memories from high school and just growing up, and it makes me think about where I've come and how far I've come and where I've been, and, it's time to get rid of it. Out with the old, in with the new. It's time to let go of these things because they no longer serve me, and I'm glad that I've become the woman that I want to be, so I'm saying goodbye to this. And this is just ratty and old, so I don't think I need to donate this.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, Allie, how do you feel?
It feels good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And how do you feel?
I feel good. I like throwing things away because I like to know that I don't really have an attachment to a lot of things. My attachment is just more for like the memories and things like that. So it always feels liberating because I know now I'm clearing space for good things to come to me. So
before we get too deep into anything, we're going to do our breathing exercises of the day. So we have 3 affirmations.
I can comfortably express my needs and my feelings. I am considerate of my own boundaries and boundaries of others. I choose to be patient and attentive listener.
So please feel free to join us while we take several deep breaths, say the affirmations, and just relax ourselves a little before we jump into this conversation.
Ready? Ready. I can comfortably express my needs and my feelings. I am considerate of my own boundaries and the boundaries of others. I choose to be a patient and attentive listener.
All right.
I always feel so relaxed after that. I feel like focused and ready to go.
All right. So what you put in your environment is very reflective of things you're putting in your mind, because every object has an emotion that comes from it. So I look at this pen and I think it's a really nice pen. So every time I use it, every time I touch it, I get a good feeling. So by throwing things away that don't give us good feelings, you're actually kind of clearing that space in your mind.
I think we're both using our favorite pens.
Nice.
Which is interesting because this pen looks really simple and it's not fancy, but what I like about this pen is that every time I write, it's so smooth flowing and silky, and it's just a pleasure to write. And it's little things like that that make a difference. You know, it makes a difference because it just brings a little more sparkle to your life. And if you apply that with not only pens, but with everything in your surroundings, your home, your mind, your body should be a sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And why not make it in a way where everything reminds you of good things, it reminds you of uplifting, of positivity, and invigorates you and also relaxes you at the same time. So
there's this quote by Marie Kondo in English, and she says, imagine if everything in your house like gave you a good feeling. I'm paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. But imagine if every single thing in your environment like sparked something good inside you. Imagine how liberating and good you would feel in that environment. Going on with the environment affecting your mental health and your mind space, you wanted to talk about Marie Kondo a little bit.
Yes. So I love cleaning. I have not always loved cleaning, actually. When I was a kid, my mother it would be Saturdays, and she would put me and my brothers into a room, and she would spend the whole day cleaning. And you know, growing up as a kid, you kind of wonder, like, what do I gotta clean? My parents would always nag me about cleaning my room and tidying and blah blah blah. But as I've grown up and as I've dealt with feelings of anxiety and not feeling safe in my own surroundings, and trying to find a place where I can seek refuge in and create a space where I can seek refuge in, cleaning has become such a therapeutic thing for me. From throwing things out to opening windows to letting some sunshine in and dusting, there's a lot to it. One of the things that really opened up my eyes in terms of a philosophy of cleaning and giving me a why of cleaning was this book, which I'm sure everybody knows, the Netflix show. Not to like toot my own horn or anything, I bought this book years before the show came out. And
she liked it before it was cool.
I did like it before it was cool. And it was funny because my friends had come over and they saw my room super tidy, and they had seen my drawers folded in a Marie Kondo method, and they were laughing at me like, what are you doing? And they would see me like take the moment to fold my clothes, and I don't know, they just thought I was weird. But
everyone else just throws them in there. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I just loved it. It just really resonated with me. So the big thing about this book was it changes your perspective and it changes your philosophy on life. It sounds crazy, but what it does is it gives you the permission to get rid of clutter that you have been wanting to get rid of for so long, you know, because you have these emotional attachments where you think you should. And the biggest thing was it changes your mindset from looking at things that you have to get rid of to only looking at things which bring, how Marie Kondo says, which bring you joy, but which bring you value. And it can be as simple as this pen, or it can be a furniture such as like a really comfy bed or something. It's everywhere. And then the other big thing is it's not just in the physicality of objects and the material. It goes on to beliefs, to habits, to ideas, just like as how we mentioned before. And that's what's really mind-blowing. So let me read a few quotes from this book, which I really resonated with. So just quotes. Yes. And they're really powerful. First quote I'll share with you is, she says, I believe that tidying is a celebration, a special send-off for those things that will be departing from the house, and therefore I dress accordingly. So, she dresses accordingly. I don't really dress up, but I do use it as a celebration, because the awesome thing about cleaning up and tidying, first of all, let's create this distinction. There is a difference between tidying and cleaning up and getting rid of clutter, because your house will still have clutter if you don't get rid of the clutter. They're just going to be in the drawers, in your closet, and that is going to affect you even if you're not paying attention to it. So what you have to do first is you have to get rid of that which doesn't serve you. Why? Because it's actually blocking you from getting things that do serve you. It's blocking you. It's already, if this space is already filled up, how can you possibly have any more room to bring in newness and, you know, better things into your life if something else is in the way? Mm-hmm. So it's really fun once you get into the practice of it to let go. It's almost liberating for me, which is why I like it. I like this idea of not being tied down to things. I like this idea of being able to appreciate the memories that live in here. They're not in the objects. Mm-hmm. The belt that I had, the memories are in my mind. They're not in the belt. I haven't looked at that belt for about a year, and I forgot that I had it until this episode. But the memories live on, and as long as I live on. So that's the distinction there. Now that I got rid of the belt, I even feel it. I actually have fun when I throw things out. I always think about, oh boy, I can only imagine all the new things that are going to come in. Mm-hmm. So she goes on to say that she shows respect for things that no longer serve her. And I think that's actually a really powerful thing because it served its purpose at one point in time. And just like your teddy bear that you've had from since childhood, it served its purpose, and it can either get thrown away or donated depending on what the item is. And you realized what your space needed from it, right? You realize, okay, well, you bought this and it's not exactly fitting into your space exactly how you want. So now now you're better for it because now you have a clearer vision of what you do want to bring into your life. So an example is me buying a dress, and I see the dress on the rack and it's beautiful. And I think, oh, I saw a girl wearing that dress and I want to look just as pretty as she is. So if I buy this dress, I'm going to be just as pretty. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to be just as slim. And then what happens is you buy it, and I've done this before where it's like, I don't really fit into it. And I'm like, you know what? One day I'm going to fit into it. I'm going to lose weight. But what happens? It sits in your closet, and it's a reminder, reminding you how you told yourself that you're going to lose weight. So it's an anchor. It's mm-hmm. keeping you in this reminder mode of saying, I got to lose weight. So what you're telling yourself is, I'm overweight. It's like an expectation, but it's I think it's more. It's reaffirming your belief about yourself. I think the real issue I need to address is how can I love my body in the way that it is right now? Flaws and all, but, perfections and imperfections. And this dress doesn't serve me because mm-hmm. all this dress is doing is reminding me how I feel bad about myself. So what do? I say, okay, well, thank you for making me realize that I have this belief about myself that I need to work on. You know what? I'm going to shift my focus. And I'm going to buy a dress that might be in a bigger size, but it fits better. I wear it and I look better and I feel better about myself, and it perpetuates this momentum of good feeling things.
A lot of times we look outwardly to fix things inwardly. Mm-hmm. And it works both ways. You can bring energy in, you can also push it out with physical things.
So the next quote that leads into what Allie just said. The urge to point out someone else's failure to tidy is usually a sign that you are neglecting to take care of your own space. Overall, this quote is very profound, but this book is really cool because she talks about tidying your space, but it's such a parallel to emotions and to things further than that, because she talks about tidying, but if you have an urge to point out a failure in someone else, it's usually a sign that you're neglecting something within yourself. Everything emanates from you. You have to fill your cup first, and then once your cup is overflowing, it will all exude out. Same way, my dad would always say, if you squeeze a lemon, what do you get? You get lemon juice. If you squeeze orange, what do you get? You get orange juice. Mm-hmm. So if you got nothing to squeeze, you got no juice.
No juice.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of cheesy. But what's interesting about this is me and Allie were having a conversation before we actually started recording. Talking about communication. So the idea here is you have a relationship with somebody, and you point to your significant other saying, you're not talking, you're not communicating, you're not communicating, you're not communicating. But what it is when you're in a place where you're looking from outside of yourself, you find yourself looking to the outside to feel something from within, that's when you know you have to switch gears. Because if you're looking to your partner to communicate, you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, are you communicating? I'm telling Allie, you gotta pick up your stuff. You gotta pick up your stuff. You gotta pick up your stuff. It's usually a sign showing that I'm neglecting my own environment. So Marie Kondo says to take it back to your environment and start cleaning. And what happens is by nature, Allie's gonna see my space and see how it's like super clean, and then she's gonna be like, I kind of want to do that, and she'll be more cognizant of keeping the space clean, staying tidy. But it takes patience, and I would say it takes guts, because the bottom line is you cannot control anybody other than yourself. Mm-hmm. Everything stems from you. So in going back to that example of the relationship, if you open up the doors of communication, and if you say, hey, how was your day? What's going on? You're opening the doors. Mm-hmm. And so you're making the other person feel more comfortable. Instead of saying, you have to talk to me, and you have to do this, and you have to communicate with me, and it's all your fault that we're not communicating. Mm-mm. Take it a step back. Right. That leads me into my next quote, which is, the best way to find out what you really need is to get rid of what we don't. So in terms of that, I found it very eye-opening, because you start, in getting rid of things that you don't need, you start getting a clearer vision of what you do want to bring into your life. So what happens is your focus changes to just zoning in on that which will serve you and letting everything go. So like if you go to the store and you've gotten rid of this clutter that doesn't serve you anymore, first of all, you've taken such big actions and steps to get rid of stuff that now that when you go out, your mind is primed to pay attention to that which only serves you, and you will only bring home that which serves you. And then there's times too where sometimes you buy something and you think it looks cute, but when you bring it home, it doesn't serve you, and that's okay too, because then you realize, you can give it to your sister, or you can give it to somebody else, and it's just refining and creating that life which you want to live.
Another thing I've heard is that sometimes you can appreciate that something exists without owning it. Yes. Without bringing it into your life. That's a big point. My parents have a really big problem with this. They see something and they're like, oh, I like that. But they don't think about does it really go with the vibe of their house? Mm-hmm. Are they ever going to use it? So sometimes it's okay to just look at this and be like, I like that. And then just walk away.
Yeah, I do that so often now, especially after reading the book. Because when I read the book, I did it to my room. At the time, I was just living in my room because I was with my dad. Mm-hmm. And, I got rid of so much stuff. And now when I go out, I really vet things that I see. And I see so many cute things where in the past, I'm like, oh, I want this and I want that. And I think I need everything. Mm-hmm. But now it's this calmness where it's the security. It almost brings a security within yourself. Right? Mm-hmm. Because like how I mentioned about the belts, my memories, my vibe, my attention, and my focus is all within me. It's not in the belt. Mm-hmm. It's not in the bank that you're choosing to keep. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you start becoming more secure with yourself, and then you start expressing yourself outwardly. So how we always talk about things start within and then they overflow out.
That's very true. Mm-hmm. Everything starts from within.
Some from within yourself. Mm-hmm. So, okay, the next quote, let me see. It's on page 183. 183. Let me flip to it. The quote that I really like too, it says, the things we own are real. It says, they exist here and now as the result of choices made in the past by no one other than ourselves. Actually, that's a perfect segue. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everything stems from you. And what's interesting is that I noticed talking about like the security, because I have this sense of security, I think what it stems from is in the past, I would feel like I need to fill this void. Mm-hmm. So when I would go to the store, I need this and I need this and I need that, because I'm looking on the outside and trying to bring in. Mm-hmm. When I start realizing that all this clutter has accumulated because of myself, it actually makes me take a look at myself and see and really address that within me that needs to be addressed, right? So if it's this feeling of not having security, if this feeling of being lonely, if it's a feeling of, whatever it is, when you address it and you become aware of it, you're actually better capable in moving through it. Because everything you have to go through or grow through, you can't really stuff it in the closet, interestingly enough. It's funny how it resonates, right? Because people buy things because they need to fill this void, and then they're not addressing the void that they feel, but now their house is cluttered. So what do? They stuff it in the closet.
Yep.
And it's there, and it's this constant reminder that there's this void that they need to address.
The monster in the closet.
It's the monster in the closet, but it's inside.
Mm-hmm. You think it's in the closet.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why this book is just super eye-opening, and why I like cleaning so much, because if I'm starting to get unsure and anxious in my surroundings and in my environment, it's like a physical way for me to feel like I'm doing something to address myself and my environment. That just leaves me, the last point that I want to say here is cleaning for me. I mean, Marie Kondo says it's supposed to be a celebration. So why not have fun? One trick that I really like to do, I'm a huge believer in energy and vibes, is if I'm cleaning the table, for example, the table is a place where me and my family come together and we have really awesome conversations. What I do is I use the Branch Botanicals spray, and I spray it onto my napkin and I wipe down. So I'm cleaning my table, but I'm also imagining that it's clearing out the vibes. It's clearing out the energy. It's got a good space.
We can apply this to everything in life. We can apply it to our own minds, our environment, and now more than ever, you're realizing that people are waking up to what's going on in the world, and they're voicing their opinions on it, and that's awesome because they're acknowledging things in the world that don't serve them. When you're aware of a problem, that's the first step to solving it. Usually when we disagree with people, it's because we don't agree on how to solve the problem. So you'll notice everyone acknowledges in the world the same problems, but the way we want to solve them is different, and that's why we usually end up disagreeing.
It almost seems like they focus not on the solution, but on the fact that they disagree. And people can't get over that hump.
I feel like people lose sight of the fact that we're all trying to solve the same problem.
People have different ways to go about it.
And the reason that is because we feel like the way we're going to solve it is the best way. Yeah. We think the way that we should do things causes the least amount of harm and keeps you and the people you love the most safe. They feel like the way we're doing things causes more harm than good. You feel like someone else's solution doesn't align with yours, it can trigger things like anger. It can trigger disbelief. How could they think that? If this way is the way I think protects us, you're not disagreeing with their solution. You're thinking that they're disagreeing with the way you want to be protected and feel safe. The other person feels the same way. The other person feels no, this is the way that I feel safe. I feel that me and my loved ones are protected. So that's where the conflict really comes in, I think. So your feelings about what makes you feel safe are completely valid. They're completely normal. It actually comes from an evolutionary thing that was built to protect you. Back in hunter-gatherer times, if you didn't trust someone in your tribe, if you thought they were going to bring harm to your people, then of course you pushed them out. You didn't want anything to do with them. It's the same thing today. When you ascribe to a belief, it's because you feel like it's the best way to keep society, which is now our tribe, safe.
That's a good point.
So we have to come from a place of empathy because everyone is trying to feel safe.
So let me ask you, how do you build empathy within yourself? This is off script, but
Okay.
I mean, take the time to, but I think it's a good question because I read in a quote somewhere that, like, empathy has to be practiced. You can't tell somebody that you need more empathy.
It's not natural.
It's not natural.
It's something learned. On some degree, we start off selfish, you know? Everyone's looking out for themselves. So you have to kind of see yourself in them a little bit.
Yeah. Humans are, we all feel emotions. We all have the sadness, anger, happiness, joy in common. Everyone has emotions, and everyone wants to find the solution. What's the solution? They want peace. They want peace. They want to be heard. They want to be loved. They want to be validated. They want to feel like they matter. Doesn't matter who it is. It's just their way of going about it is different. But to empathize, you can see them for what they are. They're angry, they're hurting, they want recognition, they want validation, they want something.
Yeah, so I think empathy is just coming to that realization that, like, everyone's human. And everyone feels this human's emotions that you feel. Maybe they don't even feel them to the same degree as you, but they still do. So, and that definitely has to be practiced because, again, it's natural to focus inwardly. That is another thing that was built in there for your survival. Of course, you got to take care of yourself before you take up care of other people.
Yeah. So that's okay, though. I would say that's okay. That's the whole point, right? Before you, I've gone to this place before where, before I can even get to that point where I'm asking Allie about her day and how's it going, I have to soothe myself. So I have to say, hey, Liz, what's going on with you? Like, what do you need? What do you need right now? And so you have to actually communicate with yourself before you can communicate with anybody else. Because chances are, what I have found is, if I'm pointing the finger at somebody else and saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, 9 times out of 10, I'm burnt out. I'm neglecting my needs. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not giving myself rest. I'm not drinking water. Any of those things on the list. And so what I have to do is I have to pause, really evaluate what it is that I really am yearning for, even if it's like turning on a rom-com and like laughing and being all like romantic for a night, like things like that, before I can even get myself to a center and a place where now I can open the communication for other people just by asking them questions. And then not placing the expectation for them to talk, because sometimes it takes a while, right?
When you're good with yourself and you come to the table for a discussion, when you're good with yourself, you acknowledge that you can have your beliefs and hear others and be okay with it. I think you have to realize there's like a huge difference between triggers, emotions, and reactions. A lot of people, I think, twist them and tie them together, but they're actually 3 pretty separate things. Emotions are a system in you. It's a mechanism. Yeah. So in this mechanism, the thing that makes it start is the trigger. It's usually external, but it tickles something inside you, right?
I think your trigger is taught and learned.
That too.
Like, for example, you're smart, right? You're smart. You're intelligent. So if I came up to you and be like, Allie, you're such a dum-dum. Why is it that you can laugh at it, but if I went to somebody else, that same comment, they would get enraged and they would be angry. It's because they identify with that, and somewhere within their psyche, they believe that they are actually dumb.
Yeah. So
when a person gets triggered, there is this trauma.
It's like an unresolved trauma.
It's an unresolved trauma.
It's because something inside of you or something inside of them is telling them they have to react this way because something bigger inside them is going on. They're not stupid. They're not evil. They're not ignorant. They're only humans, and they're reacting to their triggers just like anyone else. I posted about this on Wednesday, that strong emotions, they shut down the section of the brain that's responsible for problem solving. We might be kind of afraid to say it nowadays, but there is a wrong way to react to your emotions. Emotions themselves are valid, but the reaction, I do feel like there's a wrong way to react sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And a lot of people, if you tell them, the way you acted wasn't right, they think you're attacking the emotion that it came from. So it's like if I got angry at you and you told me, Allie, you shouldn't have yelled at me like that. And I say, what, you don't think I had a right to be angry? That is not what she's saying.
There's a difference.
You're saying, no, you had a right to be angry, but you didn't have a right to yell at me.
Right. And the interesting part about that is the person is setting a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
The other person is lashing out in their way, but, for example, you're the one yelling at me. I'm the one establishing a boundary saying, no, that's not right. You didn't have a right to... I'm not saying you don't have a right to your feelings and that your emotions are invalid. I'm saying... don't yell at me.
Yeah.
I do not like to be yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
However, let's address your emotions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into this in a little bit, but the world's full of gray when we're trying to assign things black and white. So, if somebody tells you something you don't want to hear, it's easy to shut them down and say, oh, well then, I guess they just don't agree with me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But really...
or my feelings are invalidated, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't agree with somebody. In your own mind, you have to decide if you're ready to see this person as a person or a label that you've assigned them.
Oh, that's huge.
Right. So labels...
I like that.
Labels are very important in society, but they're dangerous when you apply them to people and conflicts. Labels, they sum people up without knowing their story.
You never know where the person came from. You never know what they've been through.
Mm-mm. So, we're both light-skinned females. A lot of people could look at us and say, well, they're white. They grew up probably in a middle-class to upper-class family. They probably had really good education. And these are things I've heard people say. It's not just me, winging it. These are things people have told me.
Yeah, same.
People can look at me and think all of these things, but it's not even true. I'm a light-skinned, half Hispanic woman. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I had 4 siblings, and we had enough to get by, really. Because of money, they didn't have enough to save up for college. So, you could look at me and think I have a really good education, but I didn't go to college. And I was terrified of debt my whole life because of money issues. So that means I didn't go to college. That doesn't mean I was set up for a good job or anything. I worked minimum wage jobs. Mm-hmm. Once I moved up to office jobs, I had a really hard time because of my mental health. I failed at those jobs. I quit. I got fired. And I just messed up worse the next time than the last time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people wouldn't know that by looking at me. Mm-hmm. My point is that the world's full of gray. You can't look at someone from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
And sum them up.
No, you can't. And
all these things.
So, labels aren't good.
No,
they're not the best.
Also, you don't know anyone's true beliefs just off of a couple sentences that you heard.
No.
So, a lot of the media nowadays likes to take clips of what people say without context.
Yeah. What's interesting that I'm noticing too is that in the same way with labels, once you slap a label on something, it's like everybody's like that.
Yep.
And exactly what you were saying about the gray areas, it's a spectrum.
They don't have to subscribe 100% to someone to support them.
Right.
Again, the media likes to take a couple of sentences that someone says and it gets you on their side, and then they tell you whoever doesn't believe this is true, and then the label comes. Mm-hmm. Whoever doesn't think this isn't a true American, or isn't a true feminist, or they're racist, they're misogynistic, they're xenophobic, they're homophobic. And a lot of times that's not even true. If you ask a person, if you ask them, is it true that because you believe this that you're homophobic? No. And a lot of times people say no, that's not the reason I support this. I just think that's the best way to solve the problem.
Yes, that is the biggest point. Can we like ding, 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 ding.
Need a sound effect there?
Yes. But you have to be able, from both parties have to be able to come to a place where they can put these identities and labels that they identify with to the side to be able to at least be vulnerable, to be open and talk. Yeah. And come from a place of like, hey, Allie, I think you're super smart. I think you're super intelligent. Why in the world would you support that policy? And it's like, well, actually, I really don't agree with like being this. However, this, you know, if you really take a look at it, X, Y, and Z actually addresses these concerns in this kind of manner. And for me to be able to like put whatever feelings I have to the side, because I understand Allie is intelligent. I understand that she's got reasons for what she does. Let me listen. Doesn't mean I have to.
It doesn't mean you have to agree.
Agree. Yeah. It's just like, let me listen. Okay. Let me hear what she has to say. And you never know. Sometimes your mind can change. Or sometimes there's things that you may not have realized. That's the whole point of having an open conversation and an open dialogue. In order to create change, we need to be able to open dialogue.
Goal of communicating and talking with each other, a lot of people need to realize that the goal isn't to have your mind changed. The goal isn't to attack your beliefs. The goal is to see each other's side and understand. And whatever you do with that is your own choice.
I agree with you. I think if you take it from a place of curiosity, it changes, because if you go on the attack and if you go on the offensive, like, oh, Allie doesn't agree with me, so I'm going to go and I'm going to change your mind and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. First of all, that's why people dig their heels in more. It's not going to want to make you change your mind. It's going to make you want to be like, get out of my face. Allie, if somebody was being judgmental towards you, does that make you want to open up?
No, I shut them out.
Like, if you're being judged, does that make you comfortable and feel safe?
No, it's just like, who are you?
Yeah. Leave me alone. You don't know me.
Exactly. So, can you see how labels are like really dangerous?
It's almost distracting too.
It's distracting, and it's unfair to the person to just sum them up and paint the picture for them and tell their story for them without even giving them a chance to tell you in their own words. And again, the strong emotions, they shut down, they literally, scientifically, these emotions, they shut down the problem-solving section of your brain. So,
is that the fight or flight response?
Yeah, it's related to that. Because, you know, when you run away, you're not thinking about, what is this that's causing me?
Let me contemplate.
Yeah, like you're just like, tiger. Nope, and then you run away.
So it's like threatening your livelihood, your life, actually.
Right, and then, you know, as a society, we have to realize that opposing opinions are not dangerous. You're safe.
That's huge. Creating a place of safety, telling yourself you're safe. Coming together, creating this safe space. It all comes from within.
Exactly. Empathy comes from pretty much acknowledging those emotions first. Like, what we both feel is real. And we both want to solve them and grow through them in the best way possible. Now, what the best way possible is our belief. And they can change. And we can disagree on them without invalidating the emotion that it came from. That's the part where you have to work inside yourself. But there's also something that you have to think of for the other person. You have to recognize if the person you're disagreeing with is even ready to see a different side. Like if they're already angry, if they're already very sad, like I said, the problem solving is gone. So most likely you're not going to go very far if they're already very emotional. And they have to be in a place to want to hear you, just like you have to be in a place to want to hear them.
It's respecting people's boundaries is what it is.
And you know, you don't want to waste your time and energy on someone who isn't ready to listen and isn't ready to hear you. Assuming both of those requirements are met internally, you're ready to see the issue for what it is without labels, without writing this person's story for them. And they are also in a place that's not overly emotional and ready to see the problem for what it is. I do have some tips about some things you definitely shouldn't do in a conflict. and some other ways you can go about it instead. So don't call people names or assign them labels. No one's gonna want to listen to you if you attack their character.
Nope.
All you're gonna do is turn on their defense mode.
Yep.
And then you shut them down. Are you really, if you name call them, are you trying to change their mind? Or are you like bullying them into believing what you believe? So instead of name calling, we need to empathize with their struggles. They need to feel like you hear them. How can I tell Liz to do something different if I don't even understand, like,
yes, that's a huge
why
one.
she does things the way she does?
Well,
another thing that you shouldn't do to them is interrupt. Don't interrupt them. Always allow people to finish their thoughts. They have a right to say their ideas in their own words.
Mm-hmm.
So don't try to finish their sentence for them, because who better knows how to say how they feel than them?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of interrupting someone who you don't agree with, you just practice being quiet and really taking in what they're saying. And even when they're done, repeat what they said to make sure that, like, they know that you were listening.
That's part of empathizing.
Mm-hmm. To show them you were listening, and then that even gives them a chance to correct you if you heard something wrong. Another thing, don't think that the purpose of this discussion is to win.
No.
It's not a competition.
Nope.
The purpose isn't to be like, ha, I changed their mind. Now they think like I do. Instead of trying to win a conversation, you need to realize that the purpose of talking to them is to understand them first. And then once you do understand them, or at least they've told you that, yeah, it seems like you understand. Mm-hmm. The goal is to use the information you guys have from both sides to find out what the best solution is. So who are they going to cooperate with more? The bad guy that's telling them that they're wrong and wants to change them? Or are they going to cooperate with the person who's acting like their teammate and saying, hey, let's figure this out. Like, what's the right thing to do here? Mm-hmm. We should be curious. So ask why.
Yeah.
But don't ask, like, why do you think that, aggressively?
Yeah.
Just ask, well, why, what has brought you to believe this? Like, let me see it from your side. And yeah, the next one is, I want to understand. Mm-hmm. You can say, like, can you help me see it from your perspective?
Oh, that's such a big one. I use that in my relationships. Mm-hmm. And it's such a, like, melter. Like, it's such an ice melter where mm-hmm. it's like, it's almost like a diffuser.
The I want to understand part?
Yeah, it's so big because it's like, when you're talking to somebody who's angry, at a certain point you'll realize, like, oh, like, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. So then it's like, okay, look, I don't understand where you're coming from. I don't see it. Can you help me understand?
When people are right, tell them they're right. Yeah, because it makes you seem like you're not trying to, like, combat them so much. Also, maybe if you don't 100% agree with it, you can say, that's an interesting way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And instead of saying that, I don't agree with you, you can try saying, I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. Putting the focus on the topic,
right.
not the person.
Right.
And you want to, if you really think something's wrong, you can say that's wrong, mm-hmm. instead of saying you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So again, you're focusing on the issue. You're not saying you're wrong. You're just saying that's wrong. That's idea. It doesn't sound right. Mm-hmm. So say that you resonate with all of this. Like, yeah, I do all these things, and I do empathize with people, and I do try my best to, like, see their arguments and see their points without, like, assigning labels, but it's just not working. Like, this person's just not cooperating with me, and they're not communicating in the most healthy way. At that point, just give yourself and them the space that you need, because you can't let that affect your life. It goes right back to, like, the negative energy and not letting that into your space. Relationships are a part of your environment too. People
sure.
affect your mental health.
That is huge.
And whether you want them in your space, that's your choice. You have a right. And if all they do is disagree and don't try to work with you, then how does that serve you? At the end of the day, it's all about your mind, your body, and your home being your sanctuary. And when you keep it clean, whether that's physically or just from negative energy in general, that all goes to support your mental well-being at the end of the day. So thank you so much for sitting down with us wherever you are. And
we hope that in our discussion and talking about things that we hope that some of this helps. See what serves you in your life and what doesn't serve you, and get rid of that which doesn't, and focus on that which does serve you throughout all aspects of your life.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.